why you wanted to hire a designer and like how big was the team at that point?
Yeah, maybe I'll give you a super high level, concise summary and you can double click
Love
wherever
that.
it makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for context, I'm a non-technical founder. So I've never coded. I have a CS degree from Waterloo, but have not coded for like 10 years. I don't have design
Really?
experience. I don't have product experience. So that's
Okay.
the premise I'm going into. My company, I have a couple engineers. I have an engineer, but like we don't have a design or product person.
Mm,
After we launched our MVP, we got a lot of users actually really using the product. That's when I realized I need to hire a designer. At that point, I was doing the designs myself in FigJam, Figma, and it just did not meet my bar. And
mm,
the whole company, growth quality wise, like that was the biggest bottleneck. But at the same time, I don't want to be a 10 out of 10 designer. So that was
yep.
probably a year and a half ago that I started to decided I'm going to hire. And then fast forward, interviewed, I looked at probably, I said close to 10,000 applicants.
That's
Definitely in
crazy.
I would say like at least 5,000, I can guarantee you.
And by applicants, do you mean like they actually went in and submitted an application or just like
Yeah.
candidates in general? Okay,
Or like a
wow.
resume or somebody sent a portfolio. I've looked at probably like at least 5,000, somewhere 10,000.
Wow. Oh my
Interviewed
gosh.
probably 100 to 200, and I have a Notion page for every single, I take notes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and actually made offers to a few and recently just hired someone. And I think it's working
Mm.
out really well, but there's just so much learnings through that whole process.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm like wondering even where to start. I guess like were you basically hiring alone or like did you have any close partners on your team who are really in this with you alongside you?
Yeah, I mean, internally it was just me, right? I didn't want to bug my engineer or anybody, but I've
Bother
tried
them.
a whole bunch of different tools. I've tried
Yeah.
marketplaces where like these individual recruiters just like outbound for you. I've tried
Mm.
actually like engaging with a design hiring agency,
Hmm.
um, referrals, like you name it, sneaking into like conferences, just like we're designing.
Wow.
I've tried a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm. Mm. And what out of all those things, what was most effective for you?
None of them. This is the secret I tell everybody. The one thing that has worked the best was something I did not expect at all that would yield results. The decision, what has worked out the best was working and paying up with a great designer to design our website.
Mm.
If you look at our
Mm.
website right now, you can probably say it's like really good designed, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When
Let me
I
look at it now.
looked up this, yeah, it's finta.com.
Cool.
We added a lot of details. There's a lot of polish,
Mm-hmm.
interactions, a lot of Easter eggs. And
Yeah.
users say when they see this, like, wow, clean, modern, just like Mercury or Brex, right in my text.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is beautiful.
So the goal when I did that was I wanted a really polished website. Before it
Mm-hmm.
was me just playing with some framer templates.
Mm-hmm.
And I spend a lot of money. I think any founder hearing what the price, the process is like would just immediately say no. But I went
Mm-hmm.
with it, and then the website was up. That was all I expected, which was great. The unexpected part, two things basically that worked out really well. One was this is me telling the world I really care about design.
Mm-hmm.
Without
Mm-hmm.
saying
Mm-hmm.
in the resume, sorry, the job description, I really care about
Mm-hmm.
design, right?
Yep.
Because it literally shows high quality designs. And I
Yeah.
think the subtle message I tell to designers on Look is basically saying, hey, if you join Finta, your work is going to be prioritized. You're going to be challenged
Mm.
and you will ship great things that everyone here and maybe people who follow you will be proud of. That
Mm-hmm.
just hits home for like all the great designers.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
secondly is I worked with a designer who's pretty popular on design Twitter, and he was
Cool.
just sharing his work all the time. And when he worked on this, we also had this, like the news announcement thing at the top of the page that says, we're hiring founding designer. So what happened is all these designers that aspire his work, follows him, see something, they're like, oh, what's he working on? Oh, Fintel, let's check it out. They're like, oh,
Mm.
accounting, whatever. But like, oh, wait, they're hiring founding designer. So I just got so much
Mm.
inbound of really high quality people from that.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. There's two things. It's like make sure like prioritize the marketing site like that actually draws in a lot of designers. And I'm glad you said that because that checks out with some of the advice that we're going to be sharing in our slide. And several people have told us this. It's like designers don't want to go somewhere where they have nothing at all and like where they can't visibly see it with their eyes. Like, oh, there's already elements or some evidence of great design. They want something to build off of and like have that evidence very clearly in front of them. And then the other one is, were you working with a freelancer or like what kind of a designer were they?
Freelancer.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like share the work in progress and like share it in public, build in public, and through that catch the eyes of designers who are like, oh, what is this they're working on? This looks really cool. Like maybe I want to work there too. That's awesome. And if do you mind telling me who it was? Or like you don't have to, but we're also always like
This
looking
guy's
to
name is James McDonald. So his
cool.
website is wireframe.co.
Mm.
Um, and
Oh yeah, I see
he's
it.
probably one of the OGs for design. He worked at Tailwind, you know, Clerk, and super
Nice.
polished design. And it also really aligns with my taste, which is like clean, simple. Like I'm
Yeah.
addicted to deleting versus adding, and he's designs have got so much white space.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. I would love to, whether it's an intro or I can probably reach out directly to and let him know that you connected me with him. We're always looking to get connected with great freelancers
I
to
will
recommend to our
say though,
companies.
and a lot of friends have reached out to me, is like, oh, like
Yeah,
website looks really good. Can you intro me? Like, do they work with like a 2K budget? I think that's where you instantly
he's
filter out.
expensive.
I think many people, founders say they want a really good designer, but they don't show it, or they're like, they can't
Mm,
back it up.
mm,
So tying back to the first point we talked about here, it's yes, it's showing some really good quality design. So you're starting with something, but the deeper message is to say, hey, if you're gonna work here, we care about what you do.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. And have the comp and have the support to back that up instead of
Yeah.
just, yeah, just lip service. And then so once it was shipped, once the new brand was out, once the website was out, like what did you see? What changed?
Just like designers were signing up for the account, like, even though they were
Mm,
obviously like not a good fit as a customer at all, they just wanted to poke through every design, and people started
mm,
resharing. It's like, wow, this is a really nice touch that you put in. Basically,
mm,
this virality just spread out that Finta is about quality design. Check it out. At
mm,
the same time, we're just a three-person startup at the time, 2 years out of YC. People were like, wow, this feels like a Mercury. And
mm-hmm,
Mercury is like way bigger. So that was the perception.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And inbounds just kept happening. Every offer I've extended to for this role in the past, whether people accept or not, was somebody that reached out to me with no resume.
wow. Wow. Yeah, and I feel like the power of that, it's like it's not just designers, it's not just candidates, it's like it impacts everything, right? Customers,
Yeah.
leads, fundraising too, whenever you're ready for that. It's like it just across the board, it really draws people in. And I think we're going to be talking about this, the event, but just like design is a magnet. Like design has a gravity and beautiful things, craft, it like just attracts people into it, whoever they are. And of course,
Yeah.
designers most of all.
And funny enough,
Yeah.
like I also tried working with like recruiters, that take a retainer, whatever. Looking back, working with James was basically like working with the design recruiter who happened to also polish your
Mm,
website, because he just like showed. He didn't do pitches. So if I were to give
yeah.
other founders looking to hire designers, especially if you can show something, just hire the best web designer, the best recruiter
Mm,
you're gonna get.
that's amazing. I love that so much. Um, so tell me about like when you actually ended up giving the offers, whether after this process or even earlier, like what went wrong or why did they decline? Or like what did it take for somebody to finally say yes and join?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons I learned as the first time founder.
Yeah.
The first offer I made to was just not a good fit mutually. I didn't
Mm.
know what I was looking for. They kind of just didn't like their job and was looking to leave. Um, and at the end, I basically didn't really officially give the offer, was kind of like verbally hinting it, but then
Mm,
there was one big red flag that looking back now I realized.
yeah.
I was very candid to share what like the startup environment is. So I said like, hey, look, I have no experience building product. So I'm like a really bad PM for you to work
Mm,
with. And
mm-hmm.
I might make bad decisions and do all this, So that's who you're working with. That person basically said like a neutral response. Okay, that's fine. I have product mindset. I can dive in. But based on that, I will have to do a bit more product. So are you willing to bump the salary to like the higher end? Because
Mm,
there's more responsibilities. I'm doing more.
more
Looking
product stuff.
back, like a neutral response like that is really bad for a founding designer.
Yeah.
The best designers, like their eyes light up. They will be like, "Oh my God, yes! Like this is what I want to do. This is a problem
Influence.
I
Mm-hmm.
want this challenge." Versus the mediocre or the
Mm-hmm.
bad ones would say like, okay, more work. Okay, then you gotta compensate me."
Mm,
That was the lesson I
mm,
learned from the very first one.
mm,
And then there are some others I would say I miscalculated on slope.
mm.
It's a
What do you
common
mean by that?
strategy for startups, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to convince some like 10 years of experience, senior staff designer or whatever to join you unless you pay them $1 million. So a good strategy to hire in the early days is find a young, growing person with a lot of slope so they can learn very quickly. And I saw somebody who I thought had a really high slope. Because I'm like, oh, they barely have any experience and they're already at this stage. Yeah, they worked with some good people, but very quickly throughout the interview process and shortly afterwards, I can tell, you know, I miscalculated. I did not go
Mm,
on them enough. I realized they've been designing for 4 years in school at that
mm,
stage. I thought it was like, one internship, they're already here, then.
mm.
And then very quickly I realized, okay, this is likely where they're gonna stay at for the next 3 years.
Really? Mm. And the person you ended up hiring, are they like what level of experience do they have?
Oh, like 3 internships, fresh out of undergrad.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
And
but
like,
like
yeah,
they
how did
they
you
can
build
survive as a junior designer for sure.
yeah, how did you build conviction though? Like without being able to like what did you look at and how did you test for those things and determine like, okay, yes, more junior, but this person can really help us build at the early
Yeah, so
stages.
that came through the design exercise I usually do.
Mm,
And there's a lot of learnings through that. But basically, I got them to work on an actual problem I'm trying to solve. Paid, obviously, completely compensated. And I said, hey, I'm going to set you up to succeed. You tell me what you need, what tools you want, what access you want, how you want to work with me. I'll do whatever you
mm,
can so you can give me the best result that you can produce. And they did
mm-hmm.
something really well. I was super impressed.
Yeah.
Looking back, I think it's two things um, I missed causation on like correlation. They had
Mm.
an internship at Mercury and they kind of leveraged all that brand. And I'm a big fan of Mercury and it's very similar to Finta. So I kind of said, oh, they were able to come up with this. Wow, right. And then two is they ship hi-fi designs really quickly, which to me
Mm.
is like, you might not even get that with some mid or senior
It's
designers.
true. It's true.
It was very quick, but it was very poor judgment most of the time. Like they didn't understand the goal of shipping high designs is to flush out the decisions you don't need to make anymore, so you can judge it. But I have to reverse engineer everything and say, okay, there's a lot of decisions that you made actually like did not think about the problem that I can't judge this hi-fi design anymore. It solves the problem, but there's some conflicting things.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Um, anything else when it comes to like maybe closing and having that conversation and bringing them on, like what was the conversation about comp and equity? And was that
Yeah.
hard? Was it like pretty you could agree on it pretty quickly? How did that go?
Yeah. So once I decide I'm gonna make an offer and hire somebody, I think there's a few things you should go through.
Yeah.
Comp and equity, you should let people self-select.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I would say great designers will almost never want to be paid average or low.
Yep.
Unless they're like a junior with no experience, they're like, hey, I'm just jumping in. But the
Yep.
ones that are like, okay, I'm willing to, go up to the lower end, and you see they have 3 or 4 years of experience,
Yep.
like it's the saying you pay for what you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Agreed.
secondly, I would say for comp, so for cash comp, you definitely don't want to be average. You want to be slightly above average. But as a startup, cash is obviously a constrained resource, right? I think you need to flex up on equity. So if you look at
Mm.
our job postings are down, we basically said 5% equity
Mm-hmm.
for a founding
Mm-hmm.
designer.
Wow.
And this is the same pay I would make to any founding engineer. This is the most
Yeah.
important point.
Yeah.
You cannot make them feel like they're getting paid less on cash
Yeah.
or equity as an engineer. It must be at least equal.
100%.
That
Mm-hmm.
was the most important point, and they saw that and they recognized it. And 5% equity, I think is common now, but I started doing this
Wow.
2 years ago. This was unheard of. If you look at all the
I
YC,
mean, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Look at all the YC jobs for designers, it's always like 0.35 to 0.75 or whatever.
Right. And still seeing that all over the place, unfortunately, even now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
cash
very generous.
comp is there, but I would say most of the times when I convince people to join, it's like comp is really just like an afterthought. Like it's like just a small filter.
Yeah.
People really negotiate on that if you know where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
There's two other things I do that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
One is you have to meet them in person.
Mm.
So there was someone I was trying to close in Rhode Island. I made up an excuse to say, hey, and I happen to be here visiting my friends in Boston. Do you want to meet up? I met up with her for like a whole day,
Uh-huh.
and she wasn't even interested in leaving. Her
Oh
she
man.
didn't even apply, right? She wasn't even interested. You have to
Yeah.
meet them in person to say how much you care about this person. For someone to say, okay, I'm gonna take a second to really think versus like
Yeah.
instant dismiss.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
person I hired is based out of India, but he's like just super
Mm.
talented. And I had to make this decision super quickly. And I said, why don't we meet up in like the next 48 hours?
So
So,
where did you meet?
Qatar.
Oh wow.
So
That's crazy.
I bought round trips to Qatar. For me, it was no different. It was like working at home with a monitor or working on a plane with just a laptop screen.
Yeah.
Flew there, met up with him for like 7 hours, flew straight back, you know, but I knew who he was. That was very important to understand their past, right? You also get a lot more data points that will tell you a few things. It should consistently reiterate your perception of them stronger, or it'll give you conflicts. I'm like, oh, I thought he was like that. Why is he doing this? Usually,
Yeah.
from my experience now, if you feel like a few of those conflicts are arising when you meet them in person,
Yeah.
there's likely so much more
Red
that's
flag.
you'll face when
Yeah.
you start. Yeah,
Yeah. That makes sense. You want like every signal, ideally positive, to build on top of each other to like give you that conviction instead of like the more you spend time, the more you talk, you're like, questions.
for sure. And then
Um,
values is also really important.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
founders don't do this well, like, but also like who's gonna take time to write values? What are your values? I tried those and it failed in miserable ways. The one approach I took that I thought worked out was you need to hang out with them in person for like at least 3 hours plus, and
Mm,
then go somewhere else, like clear your mind, take a walk. And the question you need to ask yourself is, if this person has zero design skills, you met them in a complete different environment, would you want to hang out with them? Question I ask myself is,
mm,
I used to do Muay Thai, so I say, okay, if I went to a Muay
mm,
Thai class and the instructor pairs me with this person,
mm,
I'm happy getting paired with them. Any
mm.
indication of no, it's just an instant no because I've learned those lessons the hard ways.
Wow, that's a really good framework. Like ignore the tech, ignore the startup skills and design abilities. Like as a human, do you want to work with them? Do you enjoy spending time with them? And I think especially in the early days, Ben, who's the GP at Designer Fund, he was just telling me the story about how Boz at Facebook in the early days, like basically met this incredible, he was interviewing this insanely cracked, like insanely talented engineer. And the interview went great, but he walked out and he's like, we can't hire him. Like he's amazing and I'm really sad we can't hire him, but he will destroy Facebook. He will destroy our culture and like
That's
put it to
totally
the
the right
ground.
call. Totally the
Yeah.
right call. And I think you can
Uh-huh.
only learn from experience to
Yeah.
make a call.
Totally, totally. That's where really the biggest mistakes you hear about from founders come from, hiring the wrong person. I am curious, like, are you good on time, by the way? I'm so sorry
I'm
I was
good.
late, but
No
if you're
worries.
good for a few more minutes. Cool. So the person you hired, he is based in India, you said. And
Yes.
is Finta fully distributed, or do you guys have any of like a strong office culture at all in SF?
No, we're remote. I mean, I have an
Okay.
office just for myself, but
Yeah,
we're remote
fully
effectively.
remote.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that is something that comes up. I mean, we see plenty of companies do remote just fine. Obviously, it is a little bit more challenging, I'm sure, with the hours and difference in India and SF. But like, what is your take personally on founders encouraging founders to go beyond the obvious places or go beyond SF in New York into places, whether in the US or outside of the US, like there are amazing designers everywhere. So why shouldn't founders consider working with those people? I think is something that we tell people and a lot of people say, but there's also a lot of like conflicts, especially with the VC advice of we're together in person and that's the best thing. So curious about your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think founders have to take a step back to think about what they're okay with.
Mm,
Using the analogy of dating, right? Let's say I was looking for a girlfriend. Are you
mm-hmm,
okay dating long distance for 6 months? That's like the number
mm,
one question, right? If you're not okay with that, right, you should be meeting in person.
yeah.
Are you okay with moving to another city for another person? If you live in SF, if you're okay with that, find somebody in New York and maybe you'll meet somebody in New York.
Mm-hmm,
So as a founder, I think you need to say like, am I super hard on like in person? That's the culture I'm building.
mm,
If that's the case, then you have to understand you're
prioritize.
competing in a niche market. You really got to stand out, especially in
Yeah.
SF or New York.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, my team was already kind of distributed. I wasn't sure if I'm like in person or remote. I was very open-minded.
Mm,
Okay, why don't I then expand my market so I can find really high talent? And India just happens to be one of the most uprising cracked places ever for design engineers, designers. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen from India that are above average than a designer in India. Sorry, in SF.
wow. Wow. And how did you find that person specifically? Did they just reach
They
out?
all reach out to me. Just literally Twitter
Um,
message or a LinkedIn message, and they will record a Loom video auditing my company's website with some ideas. Every single
hmm.
person reached out to me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think a lot of founders are very hesitant, like about, going abroad, but I don't know why, like India specifically as a geography, like people see a ton of outreach, but often disregard. And I think that's just like the reality. So it's really great to hear that you're like, man, there's so much amazing talent there. And I mean, frankly, like, of course, comp, I'm sure, is a part of that too, naturally. And that's where founders can flex and have really great talent join their team, and have that flexibility. But yeah, if I'm being frank, it's not like advice that we've shared openly with
Yeah, I would say
founders.
honestly, no
Yeah.
one should do it for the comp angle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, if this person was in SF, I would be more than willing to pay like really
Mm,
high SF comp.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Just
it's
that's
just,
how talented they are.
yeah, on the absolute spectrum of talent, skill, and like growth, some people, select groups of people in India are just through the roof.
Really?
Like
Okay. Oh my
insane.
gosh.
Yeah,
Wow. I really need to expand our network there because yeah, I'm not as well connected beyond honestly SF in New York and like select places, Toronto,
yeah.
or in the US. But yes, if there's any more people that he knows or that you
I would
see out
say
there, let us
you have to
know.
find the right companies they're working at. They're already
Yeah.
working at a really big company, and it's not like Uber, Rippling, or whatever. So the person I hired works at a company called DevRev.
Mm.
I forgot what their domain was, DevRev dot something, but they're like linear plus Zendesk plus intercom, just every ticket in place.
Oh,
And you can just
cool.
like their design is just polished. Most of their team
Yeah.
in India, right? That was just like companies like that, like they are cracked. You know,
Yeah.
the engineers are like 10x engineers. The designers are not designers. They're either a design engineer or a brand web slash design product designer.
I was gonna go back to that real quick is like I know you had a lot of learnings over all the months of talking to or evaluating portfolios, talking to designers. Ultimately, what did you find what was the right skill set for you and what kind of person did you need for your specific needs at Finta?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is they must understand what they're getting into as a startup.
Mm,
By doing that, you filter out 99.999%. Like out of the, let's say 5,000 applicants, if I just apply that filter, they understand what they're getting into as a startup, there's
mm,
probably ten people.
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
there's a
how
lot
did
of
you filter
yeah,
for
there's a
that?
lot of ways. I think number one thing I do is ask the same question again and again and again, which is,
Mm,
um, do you know what you're getting into a startup? So I'll give you a couple of examples. I would say, hey, based on all your prior experiences, where do you want to work next? I'll
mm,
say, okay, great. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are the three most important characteristics of a job that you need and cannot live without? What are you looking for now?
mm.
And at some point, people will say things differently. Like they could give me the startup pitch, impact, blah, blah, blah. And then I say like, cool, just so I can understand process, right? Like where are you with like other applications? Where are you with FinTech? They're like, oh yeah, I got two interviews lined up. I can offer next week. One is Facebook. I'm like, okay,
Game
so
over.
if you care and know startups, like these people that are a good fit would never ever apply to Think. They just cannot.
Yeah. Totally. So I could not agree more. You need those people if you're trying to get somebody who's like either only has FANG experience or has the desire just to go into big tech and stay there. It's never going to work. That said, I think the reality is like the group, the amount of people who fall in that bucket of like crack designers interested in 0 to 1, excited about startups and know what they're getting into is limited. So like I guess yeah, one thing I want to advise is like it's a really tough market right now, as you know, and people are calling it a talent war, of 2025. So like how much selling do you think needs to be happening in addition to finding those people? How much like convincing people, hey, this is the upside of joining a startup and this is what you'll get out of it? Because I think that also needs to be happening on the founder's part as well.
A little bit.
Yeah.
My personal take is I don't want to tip over somebody who wasn't even comfortable with startups to begin with.
Mm,
I'm using the relationship analogy. If you meet a group
mm-hmm,
and they're not super attracted to begin with, can you force your
mm.
way in?
Yeah.
Maybe, but very likely you're gonna go through a lot of
There has to be a natural fit.
yeah. And
Yeah.
And to me, the best way of doing that, again, using the dating analogy, is sure, you should do a lot of work to find the perfect partner. Um, but the best way to find the right perfect partner is to position yourself as what they want and put
Mm,
right? If you want a, I don't know, a mature person or whatever enjoys the same hobbies, put yourself out there with the same signal, but like put
mm-hmm,
yourself out there and make yourself better. The
mm,
show don't tell. And I think
mm.
it's really rare, right? Which is the website. I can look at any job description and people will say, we care about this, we are
Yeah.
this, we prioritize design. But if you just check out their product, right? Any person I've ever looked at the resume for, if they're a founding designer of a company in the past, the first thing I do is check out their company. Company
Mm,
from the website does not prioritize design.
mm,
That tells me they tolerated mediocre design for years.
mm,
My
mm.
bar is
Harsh
already
but
higher than,
true.
and if my bar is higher than them, that's not gonna work.
Right, right. As a non-designer yourself, you're like what were you doing there? Like
I mean,
why does it look like
there's
this?
nothing wrong with that, but it tells you the choices
Yeah.
you made, right? And if you tolerated mediocre designs there, you're gonna ship mediocre designs here. And we
Yeah.
don't do that here. We care about design. We are gonna challenge you to be
Yeah.
better in every way.
Yeah. That's so true. One quick tactical question. I think this is my last question. And of course, like if there's any other, I'm sure there's so much in your brain that you could dump. So feel free to share. But I was curious, like the volume that you just had to go through is just like massive. So how did you, given the limited time that you have as a founder and everything else that you need to do, how did you like take the time to do that? And also, were there any tools or like tactics or just smart ways to go about volume and reviewing portfolios and talking to people and setting up that time? Or was it sheer just like, you know what, I'm going to freaking prioritize this role and I need to treat it as a full-time job. I'm going to go in full time and like focus on this hardcore.
Yeah. It's more of the latter, but
Mm,
I would say as if I were to recommend like a friend to do the same thing, I would stay away from tools. Uh,
okay.
as a founder, there is this dark area that's constantly like trying to pull me in, which is like, oh, here's something you can solve to make you feel like progress. Here's something you can automate. You can feel like you're building your startup. Oh, let me look at The best way to automatically respond to candidates or filter candidates. That's just a
Mm,
complete trap. You gotta just do
mm,
things manually. And once you do,
mm,
you realize, sure, you maybe grind 5 hours for the first 100 applicants you get, but very quickly you start to get better and better and better, and you don't need a tool. So
mm.
when I first reviewed candidates, it was very slow, and I tried everything. Y Combinator, what could I start up, Outbound, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and I would say now I pretty much make a decision within like 5 seconds of if I interview
Mm,
somebody or not.
mm.
And if you think about it from that lens, it's not so bad, right? Like, if I get like 150 applicants per day, 5 seconds, I do it at the end of the night, it's not that bad.
Wow. So yeah, it just sometimes takes time and you just have to develop that muscle and that eye and get
Yeah, it's,
faster at
it's like
it.
training your own taste. So, like I can just see the red
Mm-hmm.
flags throughout.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's so true. Okay, well, I know we're 10 minutes past time. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about that you're like, man, I would love to give this advice to founders in a similar boat?
Um, yeah, I would say tying back to the first thing I ever said, right? Like the best thing that has worked out for me was paying a really great designer to design a website to show you care about design, don't but not tell it. I would take one step back to ask founders, is this a distraction? Do you really care about design enough to get a designer? I think the
Mm,
reason why people are struggling to find designers today is because just like a really mediocre or bad designer is the same, if not better. It probably is the same. It's just like
yeah.
a tool, just like a vibe coding tool, or like a $20 subscription to Magic Patterns where you can get some
Mm-hmm.
inspirations. So people
Mm-hmm.
are starting to say, I want to be different. I want to be different. But like, how much do you care about being different? Sometimes
Mm,
you have to just say, there's some fires going on in my head. I'm just gonna let them burn because I just don't prioritize that. But if you do, you should follow some of the suggestions I said on this call to really just like go all the way to really,
yeah.
or people can tell, right? If you say you care about design, but you don't do anything,
Yeah.
website is mediocre, then you don't care about design.
Yeah, that's really, really good advice. Do you think you had that mindset from the beginning when day one, when you decided to hire a designer and bring them onto FinTech, where you're like, this is really important to me. I'm going to prioritize the hell out of this. Or did you take time to get there? And are there things that founders can do to, like, is it like you either care about it or not? Or is there stuff that you can do as a founder to educate yourself or to get there and get closer to like, man, I feel ready to hire a designer. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was two things. It was definitely very important for me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what design was until 2 years ago, but going back to when I was young, like I care about design every step of the way. I
Yeah.
formatted PowerPoint presentations in school for the sake of it because I cared
Mm-hmm.
about looking nice and showing a good story. I did banking and private equity for years, right? Just be able to get into the details. And I'm very opinionated in tools I use for my friends. I will say that. So I
Mm-hmm.
have good taste and I care. But the other part was because of that, design was a bottleneck for me. It
Ah,
was
yeah.
actually solving the right problem.
Yeah.
I care too much about design that every time I design, I'm constantly stuck. Like, why am I coming up with really bad designs? Why
Mm,
can I do this better? If only I can do this, I can ship faster. That was the
mm,
thing that I didn't say, but that's the check mark
mm.
that
Yeah.
I should go for because at the end of the day, you need a business that's going to be alive to be able to keep building for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like design becomes a bottleneck when it's important enough, when it's like you need to take the time and you care so much about the details, the craft that you're like, I can't ship this unless it feels good, it looks good, it's usable, and design is clearly prioritized. It's not going to go out. And of course, you have to prioritize speed and moving and shipping things, but it's like if that's not there, then you're like, no, like I'm not going to let it be used.
For sure. I was
Yeah.
shipping things way below my bar all the time. So,
Yeah. It doesn't feel good. And you're like, I need a designer.
yeah.
Cool. Oh my gosh, Andy, this was so, so helpful. I feel like you almost like, I mean, you have the notes, so I feel like you should totally do a write-up about this. We will certainly like bring some of this into our event, and there's so many like tactics and details you shared, and we can certainly cite you. But yeah, I feel like even if you wanted to like do a whole write-up about this, I think people would find it so, so helpful. So
Sure.
Yeah. If you ever even want to do we just launched our Substack. We have like a newsletter of 25K. But we're always like looking for guest posts or things that people want to share. So that's another pathway if
More
you
than happy
want to
to.
share it. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you so much. And hopefully I was gonna say Finta looks amazing. It seems like you're really building a cool product. We did invest in Quanta, which I think is competitive. But if you're ever like looking for design support in any way or want to meet us in person in SF the next time I'm there, our GP Ben's there. Yeah, would love to just keep you close in our
Of
network.
course. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And I look at
Okay.
competition as like solving problems for the user in better ways. So,
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. All
of
right.
course.
Talk soon. Bye.